Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. I'm your host, David Corson. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is an older issue. This is what it used to look like, but now we're 100% digital. But this is what it used to look like. Got JL over cover some of my covers. Chris the Mammoth, the Chicken Guy. Got Tim Holton over here. Got a grocery store coming up on the Pacific Northwest on the next cover. It's going to post next week, and hopefully with our new website finally. And just a lot of exciting stuff going on. It's the end of the summer here in the South. Sizzling hot. Humidity's still there, and we've got plenty of water in the lake. Just was out on the boat last night. We go over the dam, and my buddy had put the LED sign that does the depth of the lake, and it was just below 1069. Full pool's 1070. So I was talking to one of my friends down in Texas, and they have the drought down there, and I said, look, don't worry about it, because we had the drought here like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago. It's been, and we were down to 20 feet. I mean, there were big trees. I mean, there was stuff coming out of the lake. I mean, nothing like Lake Mead out west, but I mean, it was low, and I didn't think that lake was ever going to fill up. And one winter, it rained all winter, and that lake just is filled up, and it's been filled to the brim since. So all you down in Texas, you're going to get your rain. I know you just had the flash flood last week and stuff, and 9 inches I think came in, but your lakes are going to get refilled. And I'm listen, I've been out on Lake Mead, and all the lakes out west they're really, really low. We're hoping that they get some water as well, because those are just beautiful, beautiful places. If you've never been out Lake Mead, it's like being out on Mars when you're out there with all the rocks. There's nothing out there, but you can see how far the water line is down. Just amazing. But here in Georgia, we feed all that lake as the Chattahoochee backed up. The Department of Natural Resources, dammed it years ago, and that feeds southern Georgia, Florida, parts of Alabama, and then we've got another lake on the other side of town, Lake Altoona, and that feeds Tennessee and Mississippi. And so we're doing our thing. Man, at the end of the day, the siren goes off. That's how close I am to the dam. When the siren goes off, you got to get out of the river because the water's coming, and you don't want to be there because the current is wicked, especially when you're just down below where the downspout is. So, but anyway, it's really, really hot. So if you're out there working, especially in the ATL or anywhere in the South, it's hot. So drink lots of water, and ultimately, we want you to be safe. So, but we got Labor Day weekend coming up. Everybody out there, you've earned it. So make sure you don't work. Recharge your battery, because Q3 and Q4, oh man, they're going to be unbelievable quarters as we, just look at it. You got Labor Day, you got Halloween, and then you got Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, and then boom, all of a sudden, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, and then New Year's, and we're going to close the books on 2022. It's going to be here before you know it. Oh yeah, and I forgot about the election midterms. Woo, get the popcorn out. That's going to be mind blowing as it is. So, and all bets are off. What's going to happen? That's all I'm going to say. So, anyway, enjoy yourself, and like I said, recharge your batteries, have fun, eat some burgers, have some fun. Have a couple beers or some adult beverages, and be safe. But like I said, come back, and it's going to be an unbelievable next couple months. So with that, today, actually, I have a gentleman. He's down helping his daughter get set up for her master's down at Georgia Tech. So he's about 30 miles south of me, from Lake Lanier. His name is Raghi Iyengar, and he is the CEO of Manufacton or ViZZ Technologies. And what they do is they basically help. They're with project management. They help you with building materials and getting them delivered on time and costs. And listen, everything right now in materials, everything is expensive. But delivery and keeping your projects on time and on budget is probably the most important thing right now. And having that collaboration and having things go smoothly, especially with a lot of workforces, working remotely still. It's crucial to have that communication and have things arrive on time, and getting the project done. So Raghi, say hello from down at Georgia Tech. You're out of Raleigh, in the tech center in the middle of North Carolina, but say hello down from Georgia Tech.
Hi, David. How are you?
Yeah, pleasure, and welcome to the ATL. I know it's hot up in North Carolina too, and I know you just came down from Beantown from there a long time. Just listen, I'm another Yankee living in the South. It's just the way it is. I've been here since '92, before the Olympics, so I've seen everything get built, and Georgia Tech, they always have something getting built down there. It's unbelievable. So. Uh, Welcome, and hopefully your daughter gets all nicely moved in, nice and smooth, just like a construction project. Here are the keys. See you later. We'll see you when you come home for the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, David.
Yeah. So this is the way it goes. You're going to tell your story, then we'll talk about the roller coaster over the last 24 months or so, and then we'll close it out with a positive thought or phrase. So with that said, tell us your story.
Sure, David. So, like I said, Raghi Iyengar, I started Manufacton about 7 years ago, but my love for construction goes way back. I grew up in India. My grandfather was a fairly well-known architect in Mumbai and Bangalore, and then my dad and my uncles joined him, and they built several landmark buildings in both cities. And so I grew up on the construction side. I did, kind of on everything construction, from estimating to supervision. I kind of learned the ropes. But then I did my undergrad in industrial engineering in Bangalore University, and then came over to the US, and this is a long time ago, in '86, to Arizona State to get my master's in industrial engineering. And that's where my love for construction and the process of construction with my interest in industrial engineering kind of came together nicely at Arizona State. And then I joined Intel. So I was with Intel for 10 years, during the time when they went from being a number 3 semiconductor to the number 1 semiconductor company, and to learn about the whole manufacturing to the construction and operations and maintenance of all of these multi-billion-dollar chip manufacturing plants in the semiconductor business. So I did a lot of that and learned a lot about process and technology, and kind of built that whole thing up for Intel in those days. Did a couple of startups, and then I landed up actually coming to Boston to help Autodesk put together the whole construction product portfolio for them. So it was, created the parts and assemblies in Revit in order to do construction modeling, taking it beyond architecture and engineering into construction modeling. Did the Navisworks acquisition and put together multiple cloud startups together and collectively called BIM 360, the kind of the start of the construction solution that is going gangbusters now. Even after I've left, they've done incredibly well since then.
Yeah, we have actually my new issue next week is our project management services and software, and BIM Autodesk. I think last year they had 3, but they had the BIM 360 listed in there. So, Autodesk, another powerhouse in that project collaboration software gig. So, go ahead.
Yeah, and then so then what happened was, while I was as I was starting to think about the next steps, I've always been interested in looking at how construction could become more and more like manufacturing and start becoming a lot more efficient, and all of those, kind of bring some of those best principles of manufacturing into construction. And that led me to start Manufacton, to basically say, hey, what do we need to do to take construction offsite, to do things in factories, and then get either some of the raw materials and components coming to the job site, other things which could be prefab assemblies or modules or kits coming in from factories, so that when you're at the job site, you have complete visibility and certainty of your supply chain. It's like everybody that's delivering. My favorite thing was the superintendent at the site telling me that, hey, I've got a very simple problem which might require a complex solution, but my problem is very simple. I just want to make sure the truck shows up on time when they're supposed to show up. And when the truck opens, it better be all the right things in there. Mm-hmm. And, so that I want to have complete visibility and certainty so that we don't have any surprises. And so that's been our mission at Manufacton, to help do kind of, as the is moving from field into the factory, portions of it are getting built offsite, everything's coming on site, making sure that all that is well coordinated between all of the different companies. And David, as you were saying, with some of the people working remotely and all of the, so there's a lot of collaboration and coordination that's needed to make sure there are no surprises at the job site. And that's been the focus for Manufacton.
Modular building is, I'm a judge with the Modular Building Institute every year, and I
Yeah.
do retail and hospitality. Yeah, they throw in some other projects in there. I probably judge about 70 projects. I mean, some of them are very simple, but some of the buildings you would not know that's modular construction. You would not know it. Whether it's a hotel or a retail store, or an army barrack, whatever it might be. I mean, it's amazing what they can do. And I've seen a lot of the hospitality guys. They'll do whole bathrooms. They're all the same. Boom, they build them. They bring them up. They slide them in like a drawer into a filing cabinet, and done. And then hook up the pipes and so forth. So it's the quality control, in my opinion, is if you build something off site and you've got a lot of them that are supposed to be if you're in a big tall building or whatever it might be, the quality control is probably so much easier to keep in the factory and then just deliver it and get it installed depending on how the building is. So I get it. It's kind of come to attrition because a lot of people think modular buildings like, oh, it's containers, or what have you. We have a piece of land up on Lake Lanier. We're going to build, but I'm waiting for prices to come down. So last night we were driving home, and I told my wife, I'm like, we could build like that house out of concrete. We wouldn't have to do it out of wood. We could do a modular building. And they're like, oh, the HOA would never let you do that. I'm like, honey, listen, you would, some of the buildings that are made of modular units, you wouldn't even know that they're modular units. Am I right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's the best part, that is like you have different types of building materials. You got concrete, you got wood, you got steel, and then so you have all of these different types of structures that are getting modular, that are being built with different types of materials. You even have companies producing 3D printed components that are coming in and becoming part of this. So it's the interesting thing that I've been seeing in this is how being at this kind of having the ringside view for this whole industry transformation that's going on, we're getting to see how you got your volumetric modular players, whether it's steel, concrete, wood, how they are kind of moving, charging forward, and then you have all of the different traditional, the mechanical, electrical plumbing, and the steel framing. So they have been doing more and more what they would call prefab. They might not call it offsite or modular, but they've been doing prefab for the longest time. And now they're saying we can do much more prefab and expand from single trade prefab to multi-trade prefab in order to be able to do things. And then you've got all these specialty trades like your glass facades and your mass timber. One of our customers is doing amazing work at the timber lab at the Portland airport, where the expansion of the airport, where they're building a huge roof, mass timber roof, where they're building thousands and thousands and thousands of components offsite, assembling it all together, deassembling it, making sure it's all set up so that when it gets assembled at the airport, it's with minimal disruption to passenger traffic. So it's both in terms of mass timber and from an architectural perspective, a sustainability perspective, it's fantastic. But even from an engineering perspective of how they put it all together offsite and then coordinating it on site, it's a marvel in terms of what is going. So it's really great to see this different companies looking at from taking their strengths and taking it to the next level as they're starting to innovate around this whole idea of take what you can offsite, bring things on site, coordinate it, but make sure you have complete visibility and certainty into it so that there are no disruptions at the site.
It's almost like just-in-time manufacturing if you think about it, because the automotive guys have been doing it for years that way, where everything is built on site in the seats or the transmission or whatever it might be. I mean, people think that Ford, GM, the big three, they build cars. They assemble them, to be honest with you. Everything's built off site. Just in time is like, it's just in time to arrive when the car's coming down, the conveyor belt, and there it comes in. So there was I don't want to say maybe it was 10 years ago, but there was a convenience store, a gas station, pretty big player. Anyway, it was an old station, and they did a modular building, but I saw them bring it on the 18-wheeler, a couple of them, and boom, within a week, the thing was done. I mean, maybe it was a little less, maybe it was a little more, but I just remember seeing it and then driving back, a couple of days later, maybe a week later, I'm like, oh my God, the thing's finished. That's amazing, and a pretty simple thing, basically a rectangle square box, and put some new colors and the new logo, but an amazing, amazing thing. But uh, you know, just in time has come to the construction industry. There's no doubt about it, and if for those of you out there have not looked at modular building or modular building components, for your projects, I'm telling you as a judge, I'm blown away at some of the stuff that I've seen, and and I've been doing it now. I don't know. I'm probably been a judge now for 10 years. For the MBI,
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
and they always reach out. Hey, do you want to judge again? I'm like, yeah, send it to me. I like looking at the stuff. So uh, anyway, over the last 24 months, let's talk about the roller coaster. 2020 March comes, everything gets shut down depending on what state you're in. And now we're here, 2.5 years later, and we're kind of opened up. Talk about how you kind of weathered that storm, with your firm.
So it was interesting. So, with our firm, we kind of was reflective of what's happening in the industry. So, we were like, everybody in our customers as well as in the industry, they were all talking about, hey, what does this mean in terms of the disruptions? People could not go to the construction sites because everything was shut down, and what happens? And we were all, obviously all working remotely in order to make sure that we could continue to support our customers and make sure they continued, to be successful in on their journey. And it was interesting how, as we were talking to our customers, they all said, what we all of us have done, and each of them told me kind of variations of the same thing, which is they would say we were talking to our customers, which are the owners, and basically said, are you all going to be abandoning or canceling these projects, or is it you're just waiting for the window to open up and then these are all needed? And many of these projects were like, biotech, pharma, healthcare, so a lot of those things where they're and academia projects, so they were all like, we are not going to cancel these projects. We want to be able to do these things, and we want to make sure that those happen. So with that kind of an assurance, and a lot of these our customers landed up actually continuing to produce in their factories. And now, because they were in a factory setting, they could make sure they had all the appropriate social distancing. They could make sure everybody had the right equipment, and they could start producing things, store things in anticipation of when the job sites opened up. So that was really interesting how that all played itself out. So when the sites opened up, there was this rush for people to come over to the sites to get work done, and there was a shortage of people at the site. But people who had companies that had actually produced prefabricated components, assemblies, modules, and so forth, they could come in and get their part of it done in pretty quick succession. And through that process, over the last 24 months, many of them have actually done more business than less, in spite of the disruptions that happened, globally around this whole thing. So that was one really interesting, thing about how this whole transformation was actually kind of validated with the whole idea that, hey, by going to the offsite, you can have a lot more predictable business in terms of what you can do in spite of what's happening elsewhere.
You know, since over the last 2 years, I was going to do my podcast, once a month, and I went once a week. So I talked to engineers, owners, architects, vendors, all sorts, and everybody said, we had to turn quick, and depending on what state you're in with the regulations, determine some things. But if you were an essential project, things just kept on going on. You had to put the safety protocols in, and there it was. But so many people said they're more productive. They've had the best couple of years that they've had. They've learned to trust their people, and that technology, just like we're on, that they've used it to their advantage. Where before they would drive an hour and a half to do a 15-minute site meeting, where they could do it here or do FaceTime. This isn't going to go away. Just like modular building and this whole phenomenon is has gained momentum over the last couple of years, and it already had momentum before the shutdown, but it's been amazing talking to so many different types of people that they've just learned so much about their businesses, as well as, how to be more flexible, but trusting, their staff, and and getting things done. And I think a lot of the owners are the ultimate customer, obviously, but even they, because they didn't want to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to delay those projects for 6 months, or those payments I was doing in 30 days, they're now going to be 85, 90, and they didn't want to pick up the phone. And if you didn't have an email or a cell phone, very tough to get in touch with those people. So these were all the things, from the the one side. And then the other side of it is the owners are going, oh man, I really want to get this project done, but I don't know what's going to happen. So, but talking to all these different types of people that are in that construction cycle, it's been amazing to see how positive things have happened. And it's so nice to see that you can turn a negative into a positive.
Yep.
And go ahead.
And it's interesting, David, because to your point, the other amazing thing that we saw through this process was, like you said, the owners, especially in terms of this whole everybody being remote and all of the things, a lot of it becoming so the technology companies started needing a lot more infrastructure. So the number of data centers that started getting out, so all of the owners talking about data centers, distribution centers, all of those kind of things in order to make that happen. And they, I think, have been a catalyst because they've at least challenged. Now, how many of them have actually succeeded, we'll know over the next few years. But a lot of them basically challenged our industry to say, you know what, I do not want to see each of these buildings being built as a project. You guys need to start thinking about building as a product. You guys need to start thinking about, I want this 50% faster than what you've been used to doing. I want it to be 30% cheaper than what it is. And we need to try to figure things out. And we're willing to place our bets with you guys to have 20, 30 of these data centers, the sprint centers and all that getting built. But you guys need to do this faster. And so the owners have been a really interesting catalyst for our industry to say, hey, now, this is a good time to rethink and start thinking about, how you can transform your own business and how you can work with others as partners. So, and which has now resulted in many cases where traditional competitors have now become partners, where in one project, one of these competitors that might have a factory is now a supplier to what was a former competitor, and vice versa. So you may actually have 3 different scenarios between the same 2 companies happening right now, where 2 of them competing for a project. The next door, they're talking about another project where one's the customer and the other's the supplier, and vice versa as the third one. So it's really interesting how this is, all of these kinds of things have been kind of accelerating now, in my opinion, over the last it was, as you said, continuing on, but especially in the last 24 months to 30 months now, it's becoming a lot more, becoming the standard now in terms of how everybody is expecting to move forward with in terms of business.
In retail, you're either building or you're dying. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You always have to refresh or replan, every 3 to 5 years, depending what it is. But, the bottom line is that, with building and planning and all of these things, everything has to always be quick, because they're working on, okay, we're going to open this store. We have the circulars that are going to get printed. We have the grand opening sale. So they're looking back all the way. So timing is of the essence, because they've got all these other things. People think that, oh, you just build a building, but there's all these other things. When you do a project, you're basically backing yourself down to the time that you break ground. Versus like myself, when I build my house, I don't know, I might take 2 years to build. I'm going to build it myself. I don't know, but I'm not on that timeline. But on that commercial side, they definitely are, because they've got permit, and it's just a different ball game. And it really is amazing how everything is just I always like putting it into like in retail, like in a newspaper. We'll talk about a chain. Oh, they're going to close down 20 stores. But if you read about 3 or 4 paragraphs in, oh, but we're going to open up 10 new ones, and they're going to be the best thing ever. Yep. So, the shutdown really was a catalyst, that, like in the beginning, it was all doom and gloom. Oh, they're closing down 20 stores. They're closing down this. But now, like restaurants, we won't recognize what restaurants look like in 3 or 4 years. They're getting rid of dining rooms. They put in more drive-throughs, and that everything has kind of been changed. But the catalyst has gotten rid of some of that dead weight, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, and retired some of those stores. I'm a sports guy, so I'm like, hey, you know, look, you've been doing it this way for 15 years. You've had a great run, but you got to go. You know, we're going to bring in some, you know, some youth or some new blood per se. You know, and so it's been amazing though. As I said, you know, competitors now working together. Who would have thought,
Yeah.
you know, that would even happen? You know, so over the last 24 months or 30 months, what's been one of your most exciting projects that you've done?
I think from our perspective, like from our software, that what we have created, we have done some really exciting work. I think something that has been near and dear to my heart is the whole idea of when you're doing, you know, moving things offsite and trying to build and so forth. The whole idea of quality at the source, having quality be integral to the production process in order to make sure that everything comes in. So we have done some amazing work over the last couple of years with Manufacton in terms of how to create your, you know, the material flow coming into the factories so that you can start doing sub-assemblies to assemblies to components to, you know, depending on how you want to configure what you want to send to the site. But integrated into that was your quality workflows to make sure that you have not only good solid quality of everything going through, but you have incredible data analytics about your process and about your quality program and about all of that. So which can, you know, which has been exciting to see how our customers have pushed the envelope in terms of how they've been able to do some of that. So that's been phenomenal to see in terms of what's been going on, you know, from how we've been building out our product and so forth. But from our customers' perspective, just seeing the kinds of projects that they have all been doing and the success they have been having, and being nimble enough to be able to pivot depending on how they have been able to do things. That's been super exciting to watch. You know, these companies kind of leading the charge, moving forward, which is going to become for the next decade in terms of, you know, everything that's been going on. So it's been super exciting to see this whole industry transformation almost accelerating.
If you wanted to leave one positive thought or phrase with the listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, what would it be?
I think the key thing would be, don't be afraid to make a change, make the change, but in the process of making that change, what you're really doing is setting up a framework for continuous improvement, and these positive cycles of change will, with smaller and smaller cycles that you'll be doing around a continuous improvement, is how world-class companies get built. So, you know, don't be afraid to start with that first change that you want to make, and with that lay the groundwork to get everybody involved to say, okay, we'll do this, then we can do another one, and as a framework of continuous improvement. And that's, I think, is an exciting virtuous cycle that goes on, you know, once you start building from the first one.
Hey, listen, change is good. You know, I know a lot of you out here, you heard me say it a million times, but you know, it's like being in a, you know, a lacrosse game or a football game or a hockey game. You start the game with a game plan. You go into, halftime, or, you know, they're cleaning the ice. You go in the locker room and the coach says, hey, we're going to scrap this. We got to do something else because number 22 is just kicking our tail, and we got to do something about that. So everything I did to this week in the practice, forget about it. We're going to do this. And then you got to go execute it. And you might not have practiced it, but guess what? You might not get it right away, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. So change is good. You know, I mean, I went from print to face in like overnight. I was just lucky I had a digital magazine for all those years that I neglected, but it was there. Then I had to learn how to use it, you know, along with Zoom and everything else that I kind of knew. But, you know, I did the same thing, you know, being nimble, be able to turn on the dime and, you know, make those decisions and then live with them. And nothing wrong about making mistakes. People, listen, you know, how many times did they try to do the light bulb or electricity, or I can go down the list? They didn't get it right away. So very, very good point. Like it much. So if any of our listeners out there are Commercial Construction Coffee Talk wanted to get in contact with your firm to talk about modular building components and, collaboration and, maybe helping them, shave a few percentage points off their budgets, whether it's on, components or delivery, how would they reach out to you or your firm?
So reach out to us. Our website is vizztechnologies.com, VIZZ technologies.com. And with Manufacton by ViZZ Technologies. And please reach out to us. I'd love to help you and and enjoy watching your journey as you all go through your industry transformation.
All right. So there you go. VizzTechnologies.com. VIZZ, that's Viz. VizzTechnologies.com. Check it out. And, it's like anything else. Hey, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win the game. If you don't go to his website and check it out, you might not, you might think of, modular building is one thing, but then you check something else out and go, wow, maybe this would work for me. So you never know. The day I stop learning is the day I should do something else. So I always tell people, go to their site, check it out. You got nothing to lose. So, Raj, pleasure, and enjoy your time in the ATL. I really appreciated the conversation. My family's been in construction since 1888, and they're still in there. It's like fourth or fifth generation. My cousins are running the business now, and like you, I grew up in the in the scrapyard and construction, and still have my metal erector set. And it's funny, I go through school, I thought I was going to be a professional hockey player and blah blah blah, and here I am back in in the construction mode. I might not be building buildings, I'm building magazines, but it's the same thing. It's construction, editorial. It used to be paper, ink, the printer. Now it's digital, but still have all those different things. And then at the end of the day, I have a finished product. It might not be a building, it's a magazine. So I'm kind of a constructor, but just in in a different in a different format. So everything you said, even myself, modular building, I've learned how to do things digitally, and I just took a digital class 2 weeks ago. It was Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday, and it was amazing to know that I went through this class and my mind was just racing. And there were about 1,000 people on this call, and it was it was a marketing, sales kind of gig. But I was thinking about my company, about all my vendors that I can reach out to and just say, hey, do you know about how this is? Because I'm going to implement this on my site, and you guys should think about doing this too. But it was an amazing thing, and there were people on there that didn't even know how to reduce their screen. Hey, that green button down there on the top? That's how And then there are other people, and so I was kind of going through it. I had myself muted, and I'm taking notes, but my mind was racing. It was amazing. So if you being a technology guy, that through the last 30 months or so, as all of these things had kind of went one way or the other, it must have been so exhilarating to know that, wow,
yeah,
why didn't we think of this before? Or you know where I'm coming from?
Yep, exactly. So I think it's definitely changed things I'm hoping for the better in terms of what's been happening in the industry.
Yeah. Well, listen, enjoy your time in Atlanta. Hope your daughter gets settled in time, and hopefully I'll get to see you in my travels. I looked at hey, North Carolina, one of my favorite states. Like I said, my parents were in furniture up there. We had a plant in Hickory, and did a little time in Greensboro, and no Raleigh and all that stuff. And one of my favorite places was Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach.
Oh yes, I was there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, listen, if you live in North Carolina, 2.5 hours over to the coast, boom, there you are. Very, very cool place. And listen, there's a lot of other nice places other than Wrightsville, but that was one of my favorite places to go to when I was in North Carolina. So hop, skipping, and jump over to the coast, and there you are. So, well, everybody out there, listen, like I said, it's Labor Day weekend coming up. Enjoy yourselves. Don't work. Recharge your batteries. Get ready for the Q3 and Q4, and then we're going to close this book on 2022. And 2023 is going to be just an amazing year. So it's just around the corner. It'll be here before you know it. So Raji, say goodbye down in Georgia Tech.
Thanks. Bye, Dave.
And I'm going to say goodbye here from Lake Lanier, and we will see you on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Hey, safe travels out there, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks, Raji. I'll be in
Thanks.
touch. All right.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.